don't know. I guess I'll call it the lunchtime live today. Here's why I'm doing this. Uh, because I was just thinking. I don't know. Whenever I'm walking or whenever I'm running or working out, I do a lot of thinking, right? And so I was thinking to myself. I was like, you know what? I bet that most people only require just a few things out of this life, just a few things, in order to have a chance or an opportunity at a successful life. Because you can have a very unsuccessful life. And trust me, I was on the path to having an unsuccessful life for a very long time. But thank God I'm no longer on that path. And so I was thinking, like, for a lot of people, you know, they, some people don't want a whole lot out of this life. I am not one of those people. I want a lot out of life. Now, whatever floats your boat or finds your lost remote, whatever you want, right? And I was just thinking, I was like, man, I bet that if you ask most people, what would they, what would they want their lives to look like? There's probably three things minimum that most people would have in common. And so if you saw the thumbnail, there are three things that I think are super important. Now, we're not going to include the obvious, which is, the family and the friends, of course. So we're going to skip the obvious, but we're going to get into, because I want you to think more financially, right? We do love our family, we do love our friends. There's nothing more important than those people and the relationships. But other than that, when you think about your life and finances, because this channel is hopefully something that'll help you to financially grow, financially boom, and be able to change your life. What's up, MOB? Welcome back to the channel. Business is doing great. We had a great weekend here in Dallas, so we're doing awesome. Uh, hope you're doing great. And so I was thinking, I was like, all right, so most people, and this is not gonna be a long video unless you guys get me started. So don't get me started, and because I'll go to my board here in my office and I'll break some things down for you. Uh, but I appreciate all comments, all questions. I appreciate everyone who has a different opinion. I love it because it gives us an opportunity to have a discussion. Because we're only going to learn by having discussions. We're only going to learn by talking to other people. We're only going to learn by being able to compare, certain things when it comes to finances. Like I might say, what's something crazy that I might say when it comes to finances? I don't know. You guys know me. I might say that. What would I say? All right, because I'm trying to think of. I do say the normal things. Like I'll say, don't buy houses with paychecks. I'll say, don't rely on your paycheck as your only source of income. Don't go through life selling time for money. Don't save money in a bank account. Doesn't mean somebody asked the other day, they was like, so I shouldn't have anything? No, no, no. That's not what I mean. I mean, just, whatever you have in there is fine. Just don't get into the habit of just storing it up in there because if you don't use it, it has no value. It looks good on your app, but it does not help you. You want the money to actually do something for you. So if you have money in the bank, there's nothing wrong with that. Uh, all right. Okay. So somebody said, yeah, the most controversial thing. I'm surprised that was the most controversial thing. I've said a lot of things that you can consider to be very controversial. But I feel like people want to control their time, they want to control their money, they want to control their lifestyle. I feel like if we can get those three things, we can enjoy life. Somebody said the most controversial thing I've said on here, and I've said a lot of controversial things, but somebody put in the comments that it was that I believe. Sorry guys, I'm doing this live, so if I touch the camera, I'm literally doing this live from my desk. So what am I? By the way, I jumped. I'm working on the new courses. So for everybody who's in the Middleman CEO Masterclass, I'm actually working on the new courses that I'm going to put into the training. So if you're in there, you're going to get all of that. If you're new, you're going to get it at the discounted rate, which is awesome before it all goes up. And before I answer that question, I'll just tell you real quick. The new trainings that's going into for everybody who's a student who's going to see this, get excited because here's what's going into it. The new training that's going into the VIP model is going to be because you can get the middleman masterclass at one price. It's just the course, the breakdown of the course, or you could get the VIP, which includes me, includes training, includes the network, the community. I call it the family. You can do that, but real quick before I answer MOB's question, uh, we're going to be talking about how to scale your business with $1 million blueprint. I don't talk about making $1 million a year yet. I'm hoping to get to that very soon, but some of you guys might be ahead of me. As long as we create the system and get enough customers paying us, we can do great. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't always want that to be your goal. I want your main goal to be getting freedom. Even if you make $150,000 a year, as long as that takes care of your life and you don't need a job, that's freedom. But we're going to build a business model that's so nice, so good, so great. You're probably not going to have a choice. I was talking to one of my students. I was like, you're probably not going to have a choice. We're going to have to talk about making seven figures because of how we're going to build this thing out. So we're going to talk about the Fast and Furious marketing blueprint, which is lead generation, lead conversion, lead multiplication. So we're going to talk about how to hire a VA and become the CEO. We're going to talk about how to get referrals, how to get that down, and how to use that to grow your business, how to get reviews, filter them, get the best reviews, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff's going to be nice. Retention, rewards, revenue, reviews, dispatching to ISPs. Uh, that stuff's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about we're also going to get a bunch of templates. We're also going to do some Q&A. Uh, don't quit your job, learn your business before you get the money. Aim for 10K a month in 6 months. We're gonna try to do that. Set up your coaching session. We're gonna do a bunch of cool things. So, really quick, and I'm working on that now, so that stuff will be added. Hopefully, by the end of the week, we'll have all of that up. So I'm doing my best. All right. So, most controversial thing I've said is that your house is not an asset, but it is. And the greatest asset an individual will have is a mortgage because it appreciates in value. All right, MOB. So, all right. So let's talk about that because I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right. I'll say, okay, cool. Let's have a conversation about it. So, and by the way, I got to keep up with the time, guys, because I'm not going to be in here too long. So if you have a question or comment, you need to drop it. All right. So a house is an asset. All right. So the first thing we need to define, MOB, is what is an asset? What is a liability? Obviously, that's what we're talking about. So the way I define an asset versus a liability is this: an asset makes you money, puts money into your pocket, right? A liability takes you money. Bad grammar, good teaching. An asset makes you money, liability takes you money. One puts money into your pocket, one sends money off like a rocket, right? So uh, anything that puts money into your pocket is considered. So each month, each week, we'll just say monthly. Each month, that thing, whatever it is, puts money into your pocket. That makes it an asset because whether you go to work or not does not matter. Money flows into your pocket. That's an asset. Liability is obviously the opposite. It's money flowing out of your pocket from the thing. So, whatever the thing is, if money flows into your pocket from it, it's an asset. If money flows out of your pocket away from you, then it's a liability. So, a house can be both. It just depends on who's making the payment. So if you live in a house, because that's what we're talking about today, if you live in a house, the house that you live in, right? So the question I would ask is, hey, who pays your mortgage? That's the first thing I would want to know. Who pays your mortgage? If the answer is you and you live in the house, it's your house, you pay your mortgage, you're the loan owner, and you pay a mortgage, then the house is not an asset to you, it's a liability. So the next thing you would say is what you said in your comments, and that is it appreciates. And then I would argue that sure, they've appreciated for what seems like centuries. We'll just say 100 years, they've always gone up in value, except the past 2 to 3 years. Now we're in a market where houses rarely appreciate. Right now, we're in a market where houses are starting to go down. And so now you see depreciation more than you see appreciation. And it's got a lot to do with a lot of things. Number one, houses are way overvalued. They shouldn't be as much as they are. That's the first one. So it's got to come down. You need a sale. Number two, people aren't able to afford houses the way they were just a couple years ago because the interest rates are high, so it costs them more. The salaries haven't kept up with inflation or ridiculous housing costs. So the buyers are kind of sitting on the sideline with their hands tied because they can't participate. And so that brings costs down. Uh, and so let's see, I saw another question. It said, who taught me to think this way? That's a great question. So I learned this the hard way. I learned it the way you don't want to learn it. So in 2020, my wife and we bought a house here in Dallas. That house, to get into this neighborhood, the Viridian in DFW, which is an amazing neighborhood. I love it. We still live here. We bought the house in 2020 for a little over 300,000, and so we got into the house, and then probably about, I want to say about a year into the house, my business had just started. I was just doing my middleman business, and I did not know if it was going to be successful. It was just something that was new to me, and I was just giving it a shot because if that didn't work, I was going to have to go get a job in McDonald's or Walmart or somewhere, and I was going. But I didn't want to go. So I was like, I got to find something that's got to work. So I got into the middleman business by someone messaged me and asked me if I can help them move. And I was like, no, I got my back, blah, blah, blah. I'm not moving anybody's furniture. And I was like, but I know someone who could probably help you. So I reached out to my guy, Courtney, here in Dallas. Courtney was like, yeah, tell him I'll do it for this amount. And I told them. And they were like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And I said, hey, they're good to go. What do you want to do? He was like, well, just get their info and send it to me. I got all the person's info, sent it to him. He went and did the job. He texted me 2 days later, said he made a good amount of money, and he wanted to give me some type of reward, right? And I was like, all right, well, I mean, I don't know, man, just whatever you want to give me. And I was like, well, look, just buy my wife and I lunch, brother. That's it. And so he cashed out me $50, and that's how the middleman business started. Because prior to that, like I never realized that you can make money without doing the work, and that's how I got started. So, but that was how I got started, and that was my first year. And so I wasn't sure. My wife was kind of the breadwinner. She was making a bunch of money, not a bunch, but good enough. She was making like 100 grand a year as a dental hygienist. By the way, a lot of people, a lot of young people should look into being dental hygienists. I know here in DFW it's about 90 grand a year or more. So it's not bad. Please consider that. So, by the way, if you're getting any value from these videos, smash the thumbs up and let me know. So, welcome to the channel. Tell somebody else. And so, there we were, and I was sitting there and I was going, all right, you know, it's my wife's coming home. She's tired. She's worn out. She's falling asleep 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, I'm not making a bunch of money. I am trying to figure out if this is even going to work or not before I have to go get a job. And so what am I going to do? And I did not like seeing her come home tired, worn out, and whatever, right? And so my neighbor who keeps up with real estate, we never did. He comes over and he's like, hey, Sean, just want to show you, man, these houses are going up in this neighborhood. I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, because we had no intention of selling or anything. But we were paycheck to paycheck. Uh, there's nothing wrong with that. We were I was talking about something else. There is something wrong with paycheck. So we were paycheck to paycheck, struggling, trying to figure things out. And we did have a house, brand new, beautiful, 2,800 square feet, upstairs, downstairs, 4 and 3, 20-foot ceilings. I still miss the house, right? And we're gonna get another house. So I'm like, all right, I don't like this feeling. So I find out what the house is appreciated at to $700,000. So we go and have a conversation, and we end up selling a house, right? So we cashed out of the house 2022. Sold the house for $700,000, just in the back. So I'm in the front of the neighborhood now, but we were in the back. Sold the house for $700,000, took the money, right? Because I was thinking we could always get a house. The financial freedom is what we're after more than anything else. And we had just had our baby boy, Weston. And so, and she was going on like maternity leave. And so I was like, we got to figure something out. And so we end up selling the house, took the money. The house was 700 grand. Uh, so last year, because I have some friends here in the neighborhood who are realtors, and I said, hey, look, pull up the comps on my house, the old house I used to own back on Clouded Ren, and find out how much would that house go for today. And so that house went from 700,000 in 2022 to a year later, the max it could sell for, he said, was 625. So about a $75,000 loss for the person who bought the house immediately, because the house was overvalued anyway. It wasn't even worth that. It was a beautiful home. It wasn't worth twice what we paid for. And and so we won by doing that. So when you ask, how was I taught? Who taught me to think this way? Well, life did. So I learned the hard way that paying for a house. This is where I learned everything that I'm telling and sharing on this channel now. This is where I learned that if you buy a house with a paycheck, that's a bad idea. Why? Because of the 30-year obligation. Sure, you can pay it off early, but let's just keep it at 30. There's a 30-year obligation, which means there's a 30-year mortgage for you to cover for the next 30 years. Well, that's your life. That's 30 years of your life. So you better make sure that's what you want to do. Now, the other question would be, how are you going to pay for this mortgage for 30 years or a death pledge? That's what it really means. Well, my job and my paycheck. Okay, now we got a problem. A few problems, right? Start with just a couple. Number one, if your paycheck is your only source of income, very dangerous. Number two, your job's not going to be there for 30, 40 years. Those days are gone. There's not going to be 30. Too much is happening. Too much technology, too much immigration, legal and illegal. Too many people around the world that has access to the skill set you need. I was just talking to my web developer today, my guy Patrick, and I'm like, Patrick, you gotta see the future, buddy. You're probably a year away from not having customers. And you know what he said? He said, yeah, I've been thinking about that. You got to see the future. Now, if I'm in a house for 30 years, then we have to have a paycheck for 30 years, because that's the only way we know how to make income. That's why I keep telling you, your paycheck as your only source of income is too dangerous. That over leverages your entire life, meaning if you lose your paycheck, you might lose everything. So it doesn't just disrupt you, it disrupts your entire family, and that's not fair. So go and try to create another source of income. I don't care how secure you think your job is, it's not. Go create income. I don't care how much money your job's paying you, it's not enough. Go create another source of income. Just in case something happens, you're prepared, right? That's like the spare tire in the back of the truck. Have it. Well, I've never used it. Better to have and not need than to need and not have. Okay? And so that's how I learned to never buy a house with a paycheck. That's how I learned that having one source of income is very dangerous. I learned those things going through it, right? So, not bad. I'm planning on getting my mortgage within the next few years here in Dallas. So, I mean, good luck to you. I'm going to buy a house too. I'm just not going to buy it with the paycheck. So, I have no problems with people buying homes. I like houses. I miss having the beautiful home that we had. We've been looking at homes. We spent all weekend looking at new homes. We're going to get another home. But the only difference this time is it's not going to be tied to a paycheck. So now we have a business that generates cash flow. Now that the business generates cash flow, you can use cash flow from the business to pay for the liability, which is the house. So when you say that a house is an asset, a house is not an asset unless it pays you. If you pay it, you're the asset, right? The house is the asset to the bank. It's not the asset to you. So a house is an asset, just not to you. It's an asset to the bank. It gets them paid, or the lender. It's a liability to you. It gets money out of your pocket. Now, if you left the house or rented the house and you had a tenant and they paid you and paid the mortgage, then that's a different story. Now the house is an asset. But as long as you're the person living in it covering the mortgage, you have a liability. Now, the faster you accept this, the faster you can start planning to do something different, right? So, doesn't mean you have to go out and sell your house. No, just sit there and go, all right, this house is taking money from us. We use a paycheck to pay for it. That's never going to create freedom for us. It's only going to create financial bondage, put us in financial purgatory for the next 30 years. Not a good feeling, not a good idea. Not having money won't kill you. Stress will kill you, right? And so, all right, so what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to create an asset. A times C equals L. Remember, asset times cash flow equals liability. What does that mean? That means first you get the asset, whatever that is, whether you start a middleman business or you start cooking out of your kitchen, I don't care. You get a vending machine, you get a box truck, you get whatever you need to get, you get an asset, something that makes money, generates cash flow. Let it grow and mature until it creates enough cash flow to pay for whatever the liability is. And then you use the cash flow from the asset to go and get the liability, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, whether you just want to pay for vacation, whatever you want to do. That makes it where the money doesn't come out of your savings account, your emergency account, and all that. You know how I feel about that. But if you guys want to have it and sit on money, fine, go ahead. I don't recommend it. I'm not telling you to go bankrupt. I'm just telling you, start taking the money out and doing something with it. So, uh, well, I appreciate that. I haven't been called intelligent a whole lot in this life. So, but the again, the way I've learned this is by making the mistakes. So, and my thing is because I know people say, hey, make the mistakes, learn from it. That's true, but I'd rather learn from someone else's mistakes before I have to make it. So, hey, what did you go through? Okay, gotcha. I won't do that. So, so that's better for me. Now, again, I'm not against owning homes. I'm just against owning homes with a paycheck. So I know Robert Kiyosaki is the, I'm sorry, Grant Cardone is the never buy a house. I'm not going to tell you that. And Grant has his motives. It lines up with what he does, right? He needs you to be a renter. Fine. I have no problem with that, right? So he tells you never buy a house. I don't say that. Dave Ramsey tells you to buy a house because they appreciate and they go up in value. That's not true. They have, but recently they aren't. Only a few places, MOB, if you're here in DFW, you know that uh, up in Frisco, up in Prosper, stuff like that, where the houses are starting kind of low and they're going up. All right, that's a win. They'll put a universal park and a bunch of other stuff up there. Yeah, they may appreciate over time. But and just looking at the average person today, these houses are not going to appreciate. They're not going to make a bunch of money. It's just not going to happen. The house that I sold for 700,000 wasn't even worth it. It was probably worth 400 max. Wasn't even worth that. And that person will never ever be able to sell it for more than they bought it for, ever. So my advice is in this life, get control of your time. That's the most important thing you have. Get control of your finances and then get control of your lifestyle. If you can control those three things, then you're going to live a good life and you're going to enjoy this life. Because I got news for you. You only get one. If I can just get people to understand that you only get one life here. Yes, you get eternity, hopefully in the right place, but you only get one life on this earth like this. On this side, right? On this side of death, you only get one life. You better enjoy it. I don't want to lay on my deathbed at the end of life and go, man, I sure blew it. There was so much more I could have done and I didn't do it. Now my time's up. I don't want to die like that. I want to be like, man, I lived my life. I set my kids up. They're good. Boy, I got it all out of this life. I got the max out of this life. That's just my mindset. So I don't want to be in a position where I'm paycheck to paycheck. Then don't. I don't want to be in a position where, I'm having to decide whether or not, which bill I'm going to have to pay this month and which I'm going to go without. Then don't. You can control your life. You can control the narrative. You just got to think differently and do some things in a different manner, right? And you can have control of your life. So you need to figure out a way to make money when you're not at work. That's the first thing I would tell you. Make money in your spare time. Make money when you're not on the clock. Learn how to do that so that one day you don't have to be on the clock to make money. Make sense? Right? Make sense and sense. CENTS. So, how do you do that? that's what you have to figure out. And you can. You're a smart person. You can. You can figure it out. For everybody who wants to get access to the Middleman Masterclass, uh, it's it's about an 8-hour course. In it, I teach you how to build a business from your phone. All you do is three things. You book customers through phone call, text, or email. You take a deposit that goes into your account. That's money that goes to you. And then you dispatch the work to someone else. I'll say that again. You dispatch the work to someone else. So you don't do the work? No, you don't do the work. You just find a customer for the business who already does the work. So, for instance, let's say you have a friend or family member, or you know someone, or you know someone who has a home cleaning service, and that person needs more customers. Your job is to go out and find home cleaning customers. Those customers are going to contact you. You're going to book them, take a 100, 125, 150 deposit from them, and then send the work to the person who has the cleaning service so they can go out and do what they do best, the work. We don't want to do the work, right? So as long as you have a phone or a laptop, you can get paid all day from anywhere, right? So I have students taking $250 deposits, just nuts, right? And so if you want to learn how to build a business that could potentially do 10,000 per month in the next 6 months, then you need to get into this masterclass. Let me teach you how to build that business from your phone. Put the word middleman in the comments below, and you can get started building your own middleman business. Get that blueprint, learn how to do it, and then you're going to work with me and work with all the other students, and we're going to learn how to build a successful middleman business. So if that's you, put middleman in the comments. If you're tired of working hard for a little bit of money, doing all the work and not getting paid, right? And if you feel like you don't have control of your time, you don't have control of your finances, you don't have control of your lifestyle, they're not paying you enough, you're not living the life you want to live, you're not getting to do the things you want to do while you still can, while you're young enough to do it, then you need to put middleman in the comments and be in that masterclass. Let me teach you how to do it. All right, guys, I got to go. Hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, share this channel with at least one person like you who could use this content. All right, guys, have a wonderful, blessed day. See you on the next video. Peace.